Hello, Aaron. I
Oh, hi Gina.
I can't see
Sorry.
you following
You,
flashlight etiquette.
you know what? It's a little bit dark today. We had some major storms in North Texas this morning. I had to bust out my flashlight because
Yeah,
it's so dark. But
and
I'll
it's
be
so
dang.
cold. The
Yes,
heat went
you
out,
have
and I
your
had to
you
warm
have
up at
your
a fire.
campfire. I'll
Clearly,
be
the power's
dang. I didn't even know we were going to talk about flashlights on today's show. That's so just a coincidence.
out. Right, and modern flashlights do not tend to generate heat, so it's not real. It's a non sequitur in many ways. However, it is a great topic because it's kind of a fresh story in the print edition of Scout Life. However, today we'll be reading the story online. You can see the URL for the story that we are reading here. Well, actually, this is like a bunch of flashlight stories. There's a lot of flashlight info on Scout Life.
We've got a lot of flashlight content, Gina, that will be very, very valuable, including, as you just said, relatively new content. Let's talk
Yeah.
about what you need to look for when you're buying a flashlight. We've got some guides on actual models of flashlights that were tested that we think are good. We'd
Yes.
love to hear from viewers about what they think. What kind of flashlights do they use? I think we've talked before about the old flashlight versus headlamp debate. Got to talk about that.
Yeah. And on top of that buying guide, we're talking about some unusual flashlights to cap off today's show. It's going to be a good one. We know that our audience is very passionate about flashlights. It's like gloves and lights.
It is a yes. Scout, both Scout essentials, I think. By the way, winter clothing to stay warm and flashlights so you can see in the dark. Gina, you really, literally can't go camping without them.
No, you cannot. A quick shout out to Pack 84. Thanks for watching. Pack 38 and Troop 38. Shout out to Illinois and Ohio. You guys are kind of neighbors.
Yeah.
Sort of. So cool. Aaron, should we get into this buying guide?
Yeah, that's. Are we doing the buying guide first? Is that what we're doing?
I believe that the first thing we're going to do is go through tips for buying a flashlight, and we can do that at the scoutlife.org. It's also in the let's see, this is the December issue of Scout Life. So this is a copy of Scout Life you've already got in your hot little hands, or you might be checking it out on the Scout Life app. But we're going to be reading the story online. Pro tip, a lot of times we put the story with digital extras online. You can check it out at the URL at the bottom of our screen.
That's exactly right, Gina. We've got some exclusive online content for our scoutlife.org users. We love you guys. That's why we give you extra super good stuff. And like Gina said, we're going to go through the story right now. Gina, is it okay if I get started?
Yeah, you go through the intro and then I'll chime in.
Perfect. Whether you're spelunking, do you know what that means, Gina? Spelunking? Whether you're caving, digging through your backpack at night, or walking around camp after sundown, you need a good light, Gina. It's one of the Scout basic essentials for outdoor adventures. A flashlight or a headlamp, which one, can help keep you safe while exploring in the dark, serve as an emergency signal, or provide a little illumination on a good book before bed. That's true. That's my favorite, actually. Let's shine some light on which headlamp or flashlight to consider before buying.
You know what the activity I think I find most essential for using a headlamp for?
Setting up a tent.
No. But that is good. That's a good one. Because sometimes, like one time I got to Jamboree in the middle of the night, and if only I'd had a headlamp, I would have been able to do it more efficiently.
I was just going to say, I have been on a hiking, camping trip before where we got to our campsite for the night just as the sun was going down, and I had a flashlight, but I didn't have a headlamp. And so it's tricky to try to put up a tent, right, while you're shining a flashlight. So I wish I'd had a headlamp at that point. Trying to put up a tent at night in the dark, you know how dark it gets out there when you're in the middle of nowhere. It's really, really challenging.
Yeah, and Brian, behind the scenes, Brian put up the eternal question: do you choose a flashlight or a headlamp? Aaron, I think we should both answer that question at the end of the show.
Yes.
But I asked you, what do you think my favorite use of most essential use of a headlamp is?
Sorry, right. My guess was setting up a tent, which is obviously a tremendous answer. In this case, it was wrong, though.
That's right.
What is your preferred use or favorite use?
I must have one to go to the bathroom at night.
Oh, okay. In your house? That seems weird.
No.
You should just turn. Oh, okay.
It seems like it's not a bad idea.
Turn on the light.
I want to turn. You can't always get to the light before you.
Yeah. How can you see where the light switch is? Yes, exactly. No. Getting up at night, absolutely 100% required for whatever the reason.
I I specifically think you have to have a headlamp for that because you don't have a ton of free hands.
Yes,
You
right.
know, you gotta get
That is
out. It's
that is a
dark. Right.
yes, that is a great point there. Yes, Gina. You could carry maybe a lantern with you, but I think a headlamp or a flashlight probably would still be better for that situation.
Absolutely. So again, chime in, let us know. Do you choose, if you had to pick one, do you pick flashlight or headlamp? We'll let you know our answers at the end of the show. But first up, we're going to talk about the basics. We say you got to think about how you'll use your light. Will you be taking it on a backpacking trek? You want to look for something lightweight in that case. Or do you want your hands to be free? Then you really need to consider a headlamp or a flashlight with a clip. Did you know that existed? You can attach it to the brim of your cap. Would you like a different amount of light, like some options of colors, whatever? You can shop for something with variable settings, including a red light option, which I also find essential. If they say it's easier on everyone's eyes, I also think it attracts fewer bugs. I really lean on that red light when going to the bathroom again, because the last thing I need is a bug scare while everyone's asleep.
Yes, and you know what I use a red light for in my home, seriously, is reading at night. We mentioned reading a book before. It actually works pretty good. It's not quite as bright, doesn't keep my wife awake because I've got the whole room lit up with like a flood lamp.
Right.
And I want to point out real quick, one of our regular viewers, Civ Natalie, they call it a head torch, which I've heard for that before. I can't remember where Civ Natalie is from. Remind us if you can, but I want to say that's maybe a European term, head torch. I kind of like that actually.
For some reason, I'm thinking Scandinavia. I can't remember.
I know. We apologize for that. That's our bad, but I do appreciate the list there.
We know you.
Very useful list. Yes. So Gina just read the basics of purchasing a torch, if you will, a handheld torch, Norwegian. Yes, thank you, Siv Natalie. Appreciate that. I want to comment real quick on the durability of your flashlight or your handheld torch. Hard plastic should be tough enough if you actually drop your light, which I've done at night, drop it on a rock or on the ground. Some are made with aluminum or a super tough polyethylene plastic. Stronger material should protect your light from the hardest impacts. When you're buying a light, ask yourself, over a few camping trips, will it be able to hold up to wear and tear? It's also best to pick a model with a push button. Mine's got a push button because lights with sliding buttons can actually be turned on in your pack. A great point. Killing the batteries or bulb and leaving you with no light. A couple of things real quick that I think, for me personally, you have to ask yourself, are you going to drop your flashlight? For me, the answer is yes. I'm going to drop it multiple times every time I use it when I go camping. So I'm going to need something, for me, pretty sturdy. If you're maybe more secure than I am, more dexterous, maybe you don't need to worry about that. For me personally, I'm going to drop this bad boy multiple times. I need something secure. Also want to comment real quick. This flashlight has a push button that you push. I do have one, Gina, that you twist and turn.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool. I mean, it seems sort of old fashioned, right? Because you turn it and then that's how it tightens and it comes in contact with the battery. But that never goes off on accident when in your backpack.
Sometimes it doesn't even go off when you're turning it.
Yes, right. That's a bonus feature for it there. Yes, but that is another thing to think about. Yes.
Yeah, it's a good point. I didn't really think about the different ways you turn flashlights on.
Right.
Carlos says you can never have enough flashlights. I've got to agree because as you were saying, batteries running out. If it turns on in your bag, I'm thinking there's all those crank flashlights. You can crank them and they run. However, a lot of times those aren't as bright. They don't run as long. So it's like maybe you just have that as a spare just in case your other dies. But then you've got to decide, am I packing light? Do I just choose one? Is just cranking the thing worth it to me every time? I don't know.
And I'm pretty sure the BSA rule, we mentioned spelunking or caving. I'm pretty sure the BSA rule is to bring a couple of flashlights, some extra batteries, and maybe even some matches in a situation like that. Because you never know. If you drop it, if it doesn't work, if the batteries went out or something like that, always need to have a backup light source.
Absolutely. Well, we haven't talked about, but we've kind of hinted at, is brightness. You want to think about what you're going to be using this light for. If you just want a light to read by in camp or in your bedroom, like Aaron, consider a small flashlight or a tiny lantern with LED lights. If you need it for hiking or mountain biking, a bright headlamp with a halogen or xenon bulb might be a better choice. Sounds like something from the future. Brightness is measured in lumens. What is a lumen? A lumen is the total amount of light emitted from a flashlight or headlamp. And generally, the more lumens, the brighter the light will be. Some handheld flashlights reach up to 12,000 lumens. That's strong enough to shine on something more than half a mile away. That's wild. You won't need anything that powerful. A light producing a couple hundred lumens provides more than enough illumination. Always be aware of where you point your light, Aaron. Shining a beam into someone's eyes can disrupt their night vision for up to 30 minutes. It's not just a few seconds. You could really mess up a crucial time for people to see by shining that light in their eyes.
Yes, that was something that we had to go over with our Cub Scouts back in the days when I was a Cub Scout leader, Gina, was because they all loved having flashlights out at night. It was one of the fun things to have on a camp out, but they also loved to shine them right in your face. So, and I think maybe that's where you may have mentioned it before, having like the red light is maybe an advantage, because if you hit somebody in the eyes with the red light, it's not quite as damaging to your night vision as that bright white light is. And I also want to say that speaking of the technology, xenon, the future technology, like you said, boy, you're right though. I mean, these little tiny flashlights these days are so much brighter now than they were just a decade or so ago. I feel like you can pack some serious punch into a small little pin-sized light.
The flashlight on my phone is pretty strong.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. Yes.
Let me ask you, Aaron, you talked about using a headlamp to read in your room. How bright do you need it? You said you use the red light, so I'm guessing not super bright.
Yeah, I don't think I need it very bright. No. And that's the problem, is that like right now, this light here doesn't seem that bright, but in a dark room with a spouse who's trying to go to sleep, it suddenly seems a lot brighter. So I opted for the red option in that case, and it works pretty good, I think. And I also think it might be good for your, there's some research that says that being exposed to a lot of light right before you go to bed could make it hard to sleep. I think maybe, right?
Okay.
And so maybe the red light, I feel like maybe is not as bad at that.
Right.
Well, that's not science, folks. That's just me, but I think that's.
I'm gonna try. I have a headlamp that has the red light, and I'm maybe gonna try that. I've been partaking in a trend that's sweeping the nation called diamond painting, and that it is. And I do that at night sometimes, and I'll use a book light, but it's just not giving me the light I need. So I've got to find that perfect balance of bright enough, but not going to disturb anybody, like the dog, for instance.
Right. And what, real quick, is that you're talking about?
Oh my goodness. If you don't know, I'm not going to tell you.
Well, of course I know, but for our viewers maybe who don't know, maybe you could explain, just because of course I know.
It's something that people are doing, filming and putting on social media, but it's like these grids, and you put these tiny little rhinestones like in an appropriate place based on a code. It's very simple. It's kind of like a puzzle, but you have a key almost. And it just makes this cool. I'll show you guys my diamond painting when I finish.
We should definitely check that out. And I definitely could see the need for a flashlight.
Right.
If you're going to do that at night.
Yeah, because the numbers and letters are very small. So I'm thinking headlamp for that. I could not hold a flashlight and do this.
You need to be able to use your hands.
So do you prefer a flashlight or headlamp? Viewers, let us know. We're going to let you know at the end of the show. But we have a few more tips for you.
A few more tips. Somebody mentioned batteries earlier. Technology has advanced beyond disposable batteries, guys. One popular alternative is rechargeable batteries, often using a USB cord, just like you would charge your phone now. You can charge some flashlights that way. Other lights use solar cells or magnets, Gina. Most lights, though, still operate on AA or AAA batteries, but can stay on for hours, even on the brightest setting. Another advancement in technology. When I was scout-aged youth, my flashlight was this big, giant, bulky flashlight that took like giant C batteries, and it would only stay on for like an hour, and then batteries would die. Nowadays, you've got AAA, AA that makes more light and lasts longer. The technology has come a long way. And then, I'm a big fan of any kind of device that doesn't have a disposable battery that you can just plug in and recharge without even having to get a new battery.
Absolutely. And speaking of battery lifespans and such, we need to give a quick happy belated birthday to Aaron.
How is that speaking of battery lifespan?
Life. Years and hours. The lifetime and the birthday of a flashlight battery is each hour. Yours is years.
Each hour is getting closer to the end, is what you mean. So yes, each year you're getting closer to
look
the
at
end.
it, but it's just further along in your accomplishments in your journey. But we truly do wish Aaron a happy birthday.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you, Gina.
Belated happy birthdays in the comments. Truly, thank you, Rob. I'm glad that we got to mention this today. Next up on our buying guide is price. Your budget will determine what you can get. The more expensive lights generally have more features, and this is true, but a simple flashlight for only a few dollars might be a great choice. Remember that cheap lights usually are not as durable, may not last as long, but I have to echo, like, I think I've gone to Walmart and gotten the cheapest headlamp I can find, and it's lasted me 10 years. Totally fine. Never had issues with batteries. It definitely served me well.
Yes,
and I'm not really dropping a headlamp a whole lot, to be honest. Flashlight might, but
I had the same experience, Gina, when I was shopping for flashlights when my son was a Cub Scout, because I didn't want to spend too much because I don't, it's gonna, quite frankly, maybe not last that long based on his habits. So I was able to do the same thing. I ended up getting a super duper cheap one, probably at the same store. It lasted. He didn't lose it amazingly, and it lasted for years and years and years. It was totally fine, plenty bright. Totally good. I really do agree. You don't have to spend that much. I mean, if you want to, certainly you can, but you don't have to spend that much to get a flashlight. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think that losing it might be the bigger risk for a lot of people, adults especially, or older youth. And that probably, you could, I guess, in this day and age, stick one of those little tile trackers on it and you don't find it.
Yes. Yeah, you totally could.
Depends. Like if you bought an expensive flashlight, that might be worth it to you.
Yep. Absolutely. And Dan, that's 100% correct on that. You have a little strap there to put it around your wrist. That might slightly reduce the chances of me dropping or losing mine, but I've moved on. I'm so advanced. I've moved on past that. I want to also point out Dan's most recent comment about Cub Scouts liking the hand crank lights. Cub Scouts are so fun because all this stuff, a lot of the stuff is kind of new to them, but it's a great way to sort of teach basics. Like they're fascinated by these little tiny flashlights that are so bright, or these headlamps that are so bright, or these flashlights that are cranked, but you're also teaching them. It's a great opportunity to teach them survival skills, the Scout essentials, things like that, because it's important stuff. They just think it's fun.
For whatever reason, this is a topic they get very into, flashlights.
Yes, totally. Yes. Something else to consider, Gina, when flashlight shopping: size and weight, depending on what kind of outing you're going on, where you're going. If you mainly keep the light in your pack for emergencies or for getting around camp at night, maybe you get a smaller light. Some of the newer, more expensive small lights can pack as much power as the older big ones. So again, if you need a lot of power in a small package, maybe it is at that point worth it to spend a little bit of extra money. And I would say, if you're going to drive your car to your campsite and park, and you're just going to walk, 50 yards or so to your campsite, you could have a big old lug flashlight if you want to, but maybe that's not one that you would take on a long hiking trip, right? Or a backpacking trip. You're not going to take that to Philmont. All of that factors in to what kind of flashlight you should buy. And I would say also, if you're going to carry multiple flashlights, if you're going to have a backup, you certainly don't want two gigantic heavy ones. Maybe your backup's a little bit lighter, that's only in case of an emergency.
Well, I'm thinking too, let's be realistic with our audience here. These scouters, these scout volunteers, these scouts, you guys are gear people. And I know that probably 100% of you have a big dog, a big old flashlight. I think that, and it probably does shine half a mile. That's probably when you keep it home. It's like, you kind of keep that easily accessible near your door, because if you got to go out and look for something, you need that. You're not messing around, but you're not going to lose that flashlight or have to carry it in your pack camping. You probably need a different size at that point, I would think. Yes.
We had a father in our Cub Scout pack who brought with him the most giantest, brightest flashlight I've ever seen. Probably similar to what Rob just said, a big mag light that could basically use his hiking stick. Yeah, that's what this particular dad in our pack had, something maybe the same thing. It was the biggest giant, and it was, you could play a baseball game with this one light in the middle of the night. It was so bright.
Right.
So yeah, it just depends on what you want, what you need.
Yeah, I remember my dad's always had one of those right by where he keeps the keys, and all the nieces and nephews play with it. But I even remember it as a kid and feeling like it was like a dumbbell to try to hold it up. But boy, did it shine very far.
And see, when I was a kid, we had an old flashlight. This just shows you how the technology has changed. We had an old flashlight that we kept like in our kitchen, I think. in case of an emergency, in case electricity went out at night, you need a flashlight. But the problem was, if it sat unattended and not unused for a year, it was worthless. It would stop working. And so then when the electricity did go out, there was a 0% chance that it would work. Ugh. Nowadays, you can leave one sitting out like that for a while, and it's not gonna do that to you. Which is
keep
good.
The batteries out of it and then put them in, or
yeah, I don't remember what the problem was exactly. I just know it never worked when we needed it.
It was probably a twist flashlight.
It probably was. Yeah, it never got used because it was only for emergency, so you couldn't play with it. But then when the emergency did come around, it never worked.
You definitely need a hand crank flashlight at that point.
Yes, there you go. Yes, exactly.
Just like the radios you crank. But anyway, this wouldn't be much of a buying guide if we didn't have some gear picks for you. We're going to go through a few flashlights and headlamps. And the first on the list is
also some wacky ones too, I think, right, Gina?
Some what?
Some wacky flashlights too we have.
Yeah, that's coming up next. Stay tuned for wacky flashlights. Those are coming up. We've also tasked you guys with letting us know, do you pick headlamp? Or head torch? Or do you pick flashlight? Civ Natalie has an answer. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, I want to talk about the sleek and simple Mini Maglite Pro LED. It's $30. You can get it at maglite.com, and it fits perfectly in your hand. And thanks to its aluminum exterior, if it slips, it can withstand a 3-foot drop. The flashlight offers 332 lumens, includes 2 AA batteries, with a 2.5-hour life. 4.1 ounces is its weight, and it's a cool accessory. It's got cool accessories like safety wands. I'm honestly not sure what that is, but it sounds awesome. They're actually like these plastic cones that fit over your flashlight, instantly turning it into a lantern.
It disperses the light, I bet, right? Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Cool. Yep.
If it can withstand a 3-foot drop, your tiniest little Cub Scouts, that's about as far as they can drop it.
Totally fine. Yes, a lot of people swear by Maglites. Rob said he has one. It's a very popular brand. I think it's known for being very durable. Definitely, I think you might pay a little extra for a Maglite than you would for a comparable one, but some folks will swear by them that they're the best.
Sure.
Another option is a model called Coast. If you want versatility, check out the Coast G32. It has high and low settings, which you control from the rear button. So it's got a button on the end. And you can focus the beam by twisting the bezel at the front of the flashlight. The G32 produces 135 lumens, Gina, on the low setting. That's the low setting. 370 on the high setting. It comes with 2 AA batteries and a 4.5-hour life on high. But if you put it on low, it can go straight 17 straight hours. You mentioned the weight of the previous one, Gina. I think it was 4 ounces. This one's a little bit heavier, 5.6 ounces. To me, there's not that much of a difference, 1.5 ounces. But, some backpackers will swear by trying to shave off ounces as much as you can. And they might be willing to pay extra for one that's 1.5 ounces lighter, because they're trying to carry as light as possible.
Right. This next one we're going to feature is a little heavier, 5.2 ounces. But I want to...
That is super heavy.
Okay, but wait. It's the Coleman Classic 300 lumens LED. You're just not going to believe what I'm about to say. Okay, it lasts 3 hours. It takes 3 AAA batteries. It lasts 3 hours of life on high, 75 hours on low.
That's a lot of hours right there. And I bet the low setting is probably plenty bright, unless you're really, trying to find something on the ground at night or something like that. I bet that the low setting is totally fine.
And that's going to last me all the camping trips I take in the rest of my life.
Yes, exactly.
If I'm being honest. But truly, you can carry the Coleman Classic 300 lumens LED flashlight, or you can hang it on a thin rope or a carabiner through its rear ball handle, or bail handle. It is $35. You can snag it at Coleman.com. The light features 4 settings: high, medium, low, and strobe, with 300 lumens on the high setting. Again, 3 AAA batteries. On low, that thing is going to last 75 hours.
So it's got a high, medium, and low setting, Gina. 300 lumens on the high. I'm going to say maybe 100 or so lumens on the low setting, which we both know is plenty bright.
Sure.
Speaking of brightness, Gina, think about what you'll be using your light for. Oh, I'm sorry, we already went over that part. But an example of that is our next model, the Alloy X, which is handy and lightweight. This is I'm not sure if you can tell from this picture here. This is a tiny little guy, 1.5 ounces. So to put that in perspective, the giant, huge Coleman that Gina just mentioned is 5.2 ounces. This is almost a fifth of that 1.5 ounces. This is truly like the size of like a writing pen. It's the Princeton Tech Alloy X, and it's called a pen light. Think of how a pen feels in your hand. A pen light is very similar. Even though it's small, it offers 400 lumens of light. So that big, massive one Gina just mentioned offers 300 lumens. This one is it's actually brighter, 400 lumens. Now, the difference is it's twice as expensive. It costs $60 instead of $35. It has 3 settings that you can control either with the front bezel or the rear push button. It includes 1 rechargeable battery, and it will go. Now, see, here's the difference. This one will only last 30 minutes on high, but 28 hours on low, which is not, again, 75 hours, as Gina mentioned before, but 28, pretty good. Something could get you through, a one-night camp out, probably even a 2-night camp out, because you don't need to have your flashlight on all night long. You can also swap out the battery with 2 AAA batteries to get some extra life in there.
You make a great point there. The hours doesn't mean how many consecutive hours it's going to last. It means in use. So really, right. I think of me, I'm not putting it on for more than an hour max.
Really, honestly. Probably, exactly. Unless you're really going to be, doing a night hike or something like that, right?
No, yeah, if you were spelunking, it might be a different story.
Spelunking would be different. Good point. Yep.
Yes. Also, I want to go, 1.5 ounces is very light, but 5.2 ounces is also pretty light.
It's still pretty light.
It is light. I'm very used to feeling the 5 ounces of a bottle right now, like a baby bottle, of how much that it's so light. It's like less than this plastic cup weighs.
Right.
So we're talking pretty. All of the ones that we feature so far are pretty light.
They're all pretty light. Yep.
I'm excited to talk about a headlamp next. At 250 lumens, the Petzl Tinkina presents a great value, and it's only $20. You can get it at petzl.com. The brightness can rotate through 3 white lighting levels by pressing a large button. The stretchy adjustable headband can be removed and washed. Very nice for sweaty Cub Scouts and Scouts BSA members. The light also can be angled down and set into place so you can watch where you're going. It includes 3 AAA batteries with a 2-hour life on high, 150 hours on low. And you can swap out the batteries with a rechargeable one if you want. It's 2.8 ounces. I mean, we haven't even, first of all, wild how long it lasts. Yep. Second of all, I think it is mission critical that your headlamp can adjust, because it's just not as fun to have to like look where you're going, and you're so much more liable to like shine the light in somebody's eyes that way, I feel.
And this is another example of how much better the technology is. Headlamps in the olden days were like giant, huge light bulbs on your forehead, right? Look how tiny this little guy is. And it's plenty bright, 250 lumens. It's super light, 2.8 ounces, like you said. It's kind of cheap, $20. Yeah. And it lasts 120 hours. So, I mean, it basically would last as long, assuming you're going to sleep through part of the night. You don't need your flashlight on while you're sleeping, right? It's plenty of hours for a multi-day trip on the low setting. But you can also bring some extra batteries, of course, if you want to swap them out for the rechargeable battery.
They could last if you had it on the entire trip. If you were going out for a weekend.
If you were spelunking and you were in the cave and needed it on all day long, and you were spending the night in the cave or something like that, you could still use it for multiple days.
Right.
Here's another headlamp, Gina. I like the color of this one. Yeah. One of the coolest features of the Lander Kiva is its rechargeable USB system. Instead of using a separate cord, you detach part of the headband to reveal an integrated charger you can plug straight into a USB-A port. The Kiva's bulb produces a warm yellowish beam that can be adjusted by holding down the push button to produce up to 150 lumens. The headband is made from recycled plastic harvested from the ocean. It includes a built-in battery with a 2-hour life on high, 40 hours on low. It weighs 2.3 ounces. Maybe the most stylish lamp that we've looked at so far today, Gina.
I think so. And it has a bit more of a spendy headlamp. However, it sounds like it's a very ethical buy. And sometimes when you buy those things made of recycled resources, they're more expensive. And it's honestly super cool looking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, next up, this one makes me think of like F1 racing or something. If this is the Petzl Tika, it's $30. You can also get it at petzl.com. It offers quality and features similar to the Tinkina. One main difference is its phosphorescent reflector, which glows green after you shut off the headlamp. This helps you find the headlamp in the dark. I mean, think about that.
That's cool, yeah.
Yeah, I turned on the light for a few. This is our reviewer, Michael. He turned on the light for a few seconds and it glowed for several minutes afterwards. If you hold down the push button, the headlamp's red light setting turns on. It includes 3 AAA batteries with a 2-hour life on high, 120 hours on low, guys. 3.3 ounces.
So that's interesting, Gina. So it sounds like to me, after you turn off the lamp, that light stays on. That's perfect if you drop it and it gets turned off. That could be tricky to find a lamp. If you drop it, it turns off right away. Of course, your eyes take a few seconds to get adjusted. It's pretty easy to lose your place, figure out where it could be. What a cool feature that is, that little light stays on so you can find it.
Absolutely. I didn't even think about that because if it's dark, how are you going to find it?
Exactly. Yes, perfect. That's wow. I've actually never seen that before. That's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Some folks are concerned, Gina, about space. They don't want a headlamp that's going to take up a lot of space. Again, if you're on a backpacking trip or a hiking trip, you're not going to carry your headlamp around your head during the day. You're going to be putting it in your backpack probably. So you're going to want something that's going to take the least amount of space. That's where the black diamond flare comes into play, Gina.
Cool
yes, it's cool looking. It's perfect if you're looking for a headlamp that doesn't take up much space. It emits 40 lumens, which is a little bit less, I think, than some of the other ones we've talked about today. It has white and red light settings. Instead of a push button, you turn it on by twisting its bezel, which will probably require both hands, probably one to hold it still and the second one to twist it, I bet. You can also adjust it to different angles. That's a must for headlamps. You have to be able to adjust it at different angles for sure. It comes with 2 lithium coin cell batteries. It only weighs 1 ounce. This might be 1 ounce. 1 ounce. This might be the lightest one we've looked at today. Certainly the smallest one. It might also be the least bright one. 40 lumens is not that bright. But if it's super dark outside, 40 lumens might be all you need.
This seems like a light for a minimalist. Like they're
totally
light. They don't think they need a bunch of bright light at night.
Exactly. Probably not even going to be using it that much.
Yeah, totally. It looks like an old, or like not old, but a serious camera, a photographer's camera.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Last on our list is another black diamond pick. We love black diamond here. You can tap the side of the black diamond Spot 400 and switch it from full power beam at 400 lumens to a setting at half the power. It's $45. You can get it at blackdiamondequipment.com. You can also use the 2 push buttons to switch between settings, as well as put the headlamp on its red light setting, like we were talking about earlier. A nice feature is the Spot's 3 light battery life indicator. So it lets you know when it's running out of batteries. It also comes in a rechargeable version, which is a little more expensive at $65. This one includes 3 AAA batteries with a 2.5-hour life on high, 200 hours on low. It's 2.5 ounces. I get all the ones with just the extreme longevity.
Yeah, totally. And I really like the idea of some of these that they're rechargeable in the sense that you can plug it in like you would plug in a phone. Obviously, when you're in the wild, you might not have access to an outlet. So I love the fact that you can, use that battery up. And then if you need to, if it happens to run out, if you use it for 200 hours, you can replace it with some regular batteries that you would be carrying along. That is super convenient.
Right.
I feel like kind of environmentally responsible. You're not going through batteries like crazy, but you have them there because you do need them in backup in case of an emergency.
Absolutely. Guys, if you liked this story or if you want to review a product that we talked about today, you can head to the URL at the bottom of the screen. We have one more fun little thing to do before we talk a little bit about, do we choose headlamps or do we choose flashlights? But before that, Aaron, do you want to take a look at 7 wacky flashlights?
Yeah, I think we should totally do that. This is another story from scoutlife.org in our gear section. We've got 7 weird and unusual headlamps and flashlights, but each one of them is a fun and effective way, Gina, to light up your scout outing. Let's talk about this first one, if you don't mind, Gina. We call this one Transformers. This cute flashlight transforms into a lantern with feet that acts like a tripod. That's pretty cool. So you can see the version on the far right of your screen there, a more traditional flashlight you can hold. But then if you filled out its little feet, its cute little feetsies, it's actually like a lantern that you can control. It almost looks like an alien that's going to invade.
Or a bug.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Shout out to Pack 61, Troop 61 in Norton, Massachusetts, and shout out to Donna, who says her son is an Eagle Scout and he's really into he is really into headlights and headlamps and flashlights. He has awesome ones, and she's forwarding this to him.
Thank you, Donna.
You should send him these wacky lights. They're pretty funny. They're also a URL that behind the scenes Brian has put up so nicely at the bottom of this image. Okay, next on our list, this is something I feel like looks a little more familiar. It's a cute flash. Oh, that's the last one. This has got the bendable legs. It looks like a gorilla pod or like those tripods. It can be twisted into different shapes, so you can hang it all kinds of places. You could also like use, I think, the mount on the light to suction it to some surfaces, but these legs kind of wrap around like those tripods. Have you seen them before?
Totally. Yeah. One of the things that I am often guilty of when I go camping, even if it's car camping, even if I'm just camping at a park right down the, 50 yards from my car, I will try to save space. Now, I'm not going to bring a lantern and a flashlight because I'm just going to bring a flashlight. But I always feel like at night when I'm inside the tent, gosh darn, I wish I had a lantern. So I like the idea of having one that can be used for both, or in this case, as a tripod that you could stand up in the corner of your tent, say, and point down at the ground or something like that. I would totally check that out.
Yes, totally. Also, remember to comment and let us know. I see that Rob did, but comment and let us know. Do you choose flashlights or headlamps? We're going to be going over our picks in just a few minutes.
Definitely. This is kind of the next one, very practical. If you're in cold weather, you're probably going to be wearing some sort of stocking cap anyway. This is a wearable headlamp that's embedded in a stocking cap, can keep your head warm while it also serves as a headlamp. Very, very cool, very convenient. I suppose the advantage, sometimes it can be tricky if you have a headlamp to put it over your stocking cap. It might slip. It might not. It might be adjusted for the shape, the size of your head, not counting the stocking cap. So you might have to stretch it out a little bit. Be convenient just to have it built in. We don't have to worry about any of that.
I've never heard the term stocking cap except for in maybe like old Christmas book from the 50s, but I have heard it again. I would call this a beanie.
You can call it a beanie. That's fine. It's a beanie.
You were just reading. So
yes.
To be fair.
Yes.
No, I think this is cool. And it reminds me kind of those caps people have that have like the push button light that shines underneath it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yeah. Like a baseball cap or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. So maybe you don't wear those kind of things. Maybe that's not your style and you want to go with a beanie or a stocking cap, depending on what you call it.
Right.
Next up on our list are like magnetic mountable lights. They're reminding me of some kind of a toy that I can't remember exactly what it is, but if you're looking at it, you can see there's like magnets on all these points, and these like magnet studs can mount onto metal surfaces.
And so I'm guessing, the light comes out from that little yellow, those little yellow square or the little red square over there. So you can adjust it. You can stick it on your refrigerator. And then if you wanted to point it down, there's magnets all around the thing, right? So you can sort of roll it down a notch or up a notch to put it in the direction you want, I guess, right?
I would guess. It's pretty cool.
It's very cool. If you don't have a metal surface nearby when you're camping, maybe not the option for you, but that's okay. Maybe,
These are fun, weird, wacky flashlights. They're not necessarily all of them the most practical, but they could be cool, or you could have like a stationary place you want to put this thing. I don't know.
Exactly. Our next set of weird and wacky flashlight, Gina, is flashlight gloves with LED lights that come from the fingertips. They can be super helpful for close work or tight areas. I can see that being kind of practical when you're doing something with your hand and you need to see, if you're setting up a tent or something like that. Well, you don't think so?
I'm thinking as you move your fingers, the light's not going to go in the direction you need it.
Right. So it would work if you're holding something and you're working on something right there, maybe.
I would like to try it.
There's a reason why these are wacky and weird, guys. They are wacky and weird for a reason.
Right. These are not necessarily in the buying guide. They're still something we say, hey, buy these things, find out, have some fun. It could be a great way to pass, downtime over the holidays, but they're maybe not all going to serve you the best in the outdoors. They may, but you would probably want to test them first.
You want to test them out for sure, yes.
Rob says he has a set of those finger lights he got for Christmas last year. Rob, please let us know.
Yes, are they any good?
Yeah, very curious.
Or was it a gag gift?
This next one I feel like would be a favorite of many a Cub Scout. It's a dinosaur headlamp. It is the coolest headlamp. It doesn't need much description here.
It's all you have to say, Gina. It's a dinosaur headlamp.
Right.
What more is there to say about it?
It's so cool. I like that it has the extra strap around your head like this.
Yes.
So it doesn't go down.
Right,
Oh,
exactly. It holds in place extra good.
yep.
Because of that, yes. Also, the next one doesn't need much more of an explanation. It's a bright bug. You can twist the inside insect-like legs to sort of place it however you want to, angle it however you want to. I can see this being pretty practical and useful.
Yeah, I think it's fun. It kind of reminds me of a smaller version of that one with the tripod leg.
Yes, totally.
It looks to you like it might have like a carabiner on it, or a clip, so you could just kind of carry it easily. I'm not sure. This last one, I guess, is a vintage kind of style. I didn't actually know that myself. It's an army style flashlight that can be slipped into a belt, so you can use it hands free. Pretty smart.
Exactly. It allows you to hold your flashlight like this. Instead of like that, you can see how much better, right? See, that's why they do that.
Walk with it and just make
Yes.
sure you're kind of pointing the right way, I would think.
Exactly right. Yes, very, very cool.
Okay, so the consensus on those hand lights, Rob says they take up no space, so they're in my Scout backpack, but I haven't found a good use for them. So let us know, Rob, when you do use them. Take a video.
When you do find a good use for them, let us know. Yeah, take a video and send it to us. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Aaron, I am so curious to hear if you had to choose. Don't say both. If you had to choose, would you choose a flashlight or a headlamp?
Wait, I can't say both?
No.
So if I had to choose one or the other, I think that there are situations in which a headlamp is definitely more valuable and easier to use than a flashlight. Vice versa, not necessarily, right? So if I had to choose one, I definitely would choose a headlamp because I've been there in a situation where trying to set up a tent with holding a flashlight in one hand. Setting up a tent requires both hands, or even cooking dinner, things like that, where you need to use your hands. So if I had to just have one, if I could only take one with me, I definitely would take the headlamp. What about you, Gina?
I'm actually going to agree with you on this one, Aaron. It's
not first time.
Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I joke about it. I do like to camp. I really do. But I really find comfort in a process, and I just really feel like I have a process with the headlamp. I like the hands-free. I always use the headlamp, even like a lantern. The first thing I do at night is I put it up in that little cross section of the tent, so where you put the lantern.
Yep.
Like a battery-powered lantern.
Right.
And then I know exactly where it is when I have to go to the bathroom. There's no scary surprises. Like I just, I'm fully in the headlamp camp. Our audience is very judicious and very scouty. Rob says he likes both flashlights and headlamps. Headlamp for convenience, like when setting up camp in the dark and you need hands-free. But flashlights tend to give off more light. And we did see that in the buying guide. I think overwhelmingly the flashlights were brighter. I saw another, Civ Natalie, a head torch, also known as a headlamp, is better when walking, especially in the woods. If you need to tie your shoelace, for instance, and afterwards, you don't want to just forget a flashlight on the ground. So they're going headlamp, fine. But we don't have a whole lot of people saying flashlight. I know there are a lot of people out there who are extremely passionate. They like the old school flashlight, feel like it's versatile, feel like it's bright. My dad would probably pick a flashlight.
Yes, right. And I think if lumens, the amount of lumens, if you will, is the primary goal, flashlight is probably the way to go because it's going to be brighter in general.
Rusty really says it best here. He said what none of us were willing to say. He had
yes. Thank you for speaking out on that, Rusty. Yeah, definitely.
It's an important topic. If you're going to the bathroom, you don't really want to go after a flashlight if you drop it in the wrong place.
No, you do not. Yes, good point there. Excellent.
Keep commenting. More of you guys have commented, but we want to keep seeing what you guys have to say. Let us know if you choose flashlights. Do you choose headlamps? You can say that you choose both, just Aaron couldn't. So just let us know why. You can also learn more. Check out some of the products we've talked about today at scoutlife.org/tag/flashlights. See all these stories and more. You can also check out the December issue to read this issue or read the story in print. It's also in the Scout Life app and it's online.
Good topic, an important topic. Flashlights, cool and fun. You can have some fun with them if you want to. But like we said, also an essential. It is important to have one. So at least get one, guys. Next time you go camping, make sure you have at least one of these with you.
Yeah, it is an essential. Everybody, we will be back. Me and Aaron are both in the office. At least I believe we're both in the office next Tuesday. So we'll be back for another Trek on Tuesday, probably holiday themed, because I just don't think I could stand it if it wasn't. Tried very hard working Christmas and holiday like puns into the description. Just couldn't work it in today, but yeah. And then
we're gonna keep
Friday,
working on that for next week, though.
Yeah, next week, don't worry. It'll be in the don't worry. Friday, though, I'm also super excited. Longtime friend of Cub Chat Live, Lisa, will be back in action with us. So that's going to be a good one. Happy holidays.
Definitely looking forward to that. Thank you, Donna, and to all the other ones, all the other happy holidays. Thanks for the birthday wishes too, guys. That was very, very nice. I appreciate that. We hope you guys, thank you, Donna. I appreciate that. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. As a reminder, all of our past Trek on Tuesdays are on our website still right now. You can go back and watch them at any time. Thank you, Rusty. Appreciate that. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it. You already said it to me yesterday. You don't need to say it again. It's fine. Appreciate it, everybody. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. And like Gina said, be sure and tune in Friday for Cub Chat Live. Bye, everybody. See ya.